Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 209. Is it 209? Yes, episode 209. I was very lucky and privileged to have Papa Ray Hurst on. He is a personal transformation coach, public speaker who focuses on stress management, mindset, and improving our relationships. We talked about many things today on the podcast. We talked about mindset, mastering emotions, and basically dealing with and healing past trauma. I have to say, yes, much of the conversation was very deep and in depth, and I felt like I learned a lot, and I think you will too. So please sit back, enjoy the show. Don't forget, subscribe as well. It really helps us out. And have a fantastic day. Yeah. Peace. Haha. Here we go. Yo. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on the podcast, I'm very lucky, privileged to have Papa Ray Hurst on the podcast today. He is a personal transformation coach, a public speaker who focuses on stress management, mindset, improving relationships, and more. When I say more, he might be a little bit of a blues singer as well, but that's another story. Papa Ray, how are you today? Yeah.
I am doing absolutely amazing. I am so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. Yes, like some people might say, blues singer. Yes, I got to say, yes, there was a video I watched where he was, how can I put it, putting it to it, like singing the blues, much to the dismay of his wife and dog.
Yeah. They did not enjoy it, but I must say I had an awesome time with it.
Excellent. Now, Ray, I have to say, with yourself, you like before we came on, you were like, yes, I had an eighth grade education, got out into the real world, started 3 businesses, and you're here today. What made you start your businesses? I have to ask because I just want to get an idea of who you are.
Yeah, so I'm a very creative person. I like to say I have an overactive imagination. Some days it's like drinking out of a fire hose. Just the creativity and the ideas that come in. And I just never was satisfied with the status quo. Never was satisfied with that's just how we do it. When I seen these creative ideas and really wanted to do more, and instead of just being a follower, so I always was, kind of like want to get out there. And so I started my own business. Been married 36 years. Started in the business 35 years ago. Started as an electrical contractor, as I was an electrician, so I started my own business. Went in from there. I went to building signs, commercial signs for stores and businesses. Started from scratch, and 2018, I started my coaching company, is transformation coaching, because I love, probably more than anything, is to help people be better, to help them understand what's going on up there. That why am I struggling where I'm at? Because let me be honest, I struggled. Out of my 60 years, I lost 30 to 40 years, anger, depression, and rage. And I'm telling you, you don't have to do that. You really don't. And that's what my passion is. I want to be for the world what the world was not for me when I needed them the most. See, I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know.
So,
and it makes you angry.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, like, this is the thing. Look, you've been running your sign business for like 35 plus years. And like, what made you go from that to having the epiphany to go, you know what? There's a coach what lives in me. And he needs to get out there and help the world.
So I always had that in me. I was always trying to help people. But here's the thing. I hate to say it, but when people don't pay, they don't retain it. When people are not paying you to train them, they don't apply it. They don't have value to it. So my wife and I have always reached out and tried to help people. But when we realized, I'm 60 years old, I realized that I wasn't going to want to keep doing the sign business all my life. And this is something I can do no matter how old I am. And you know what? This is my passion. This is my love. So I started the coaching business, shut down the sign business. Even had a really good, won some awards with some of the signs we designed and built. This is by far so much more rewarding is to seeing people's lives completely changed because you led them through that. So yeah, it's just been the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah,
I don't know of anything I'd rather be doing, honestly.
like this is the thing, because like with the signs, were you making them by hand and producing them? And because this, the reason why I asked this, because making signs is a craft done by hand, and yes, has a great deal of satisfaction for, I imagine, for anyone who's working with their hands and doing this, to sort of go, okay, to go from there to now a totally different craft. How easy was it to make that transition over?
So I did them both for a couple years. As I started out with the coaching, obviously I didn't have a lot of clients. I was very passionate about it.
Yeah.
But I continued to run both businesses, which was hard because I'm out there digging trenches, putting a footer in to put the sign on, come home quick, get a shower, get my suit and tie on, go out and meet a client, go to a meeting, and or go to the meeting in the morning, come home and change and get in my work clothes and go back in the shop and build signs. So it wasn't an easy transition, but then again, what is easy is you got to put the hard work in to get the results. Now I'm full-time in my coaching and absolutely loving it. It's again, guys, here's the thing I can say is follow your passions. If you're not doing what you love and you're not loving what you're doing, how can you be happy? You got to find that passion. Making money is important, but if you can take a little less money and walk in your passion every day, there's nothing in comparison to finding that peace and joy, that happiness deep inside you by doing the thing you love to do. There's nothing better in the world.
Yeah, I understand that, and I agree. Working and living in your passion, it would be absolutely ideal for people to do that. But sometimes what I would say is people sort of get stuck with the sort of practicalities with that. What would you? Did you hear me on that last bit? I said, what would you do to say to people to help navigate those practicalities to work in?
Well, I'm glad you asked it. I'm glad you asked it that way, because what's the number one thing that stops us from doing the new thing we want to do? It's not money. It's not money. It's personal beliefs. My personal limiting beliefs are simply my perceptions of who I am. It doesn't matter what my parents told me or what you tell me or anybody tells me about me. When it really comes down to it, it's my choice of how do I see it, how do I believe it, how do I think about it. So let me just dive into this really deep here.
Go for it.
Let's go into the deep end of the pool. You are the sum total of every part that makes up the whole of who you are. Meaning, every single thing that happened in your life contributes to what you become. Because your brain will literally do a research of your whole life, every moment of every day, to determine what do you think is about to happen and what do you think is going to happen because of what you believe happened in the past. So the only thing you understand is what you know happened in the past. You calculate that all together in a nanosecond at the speed of light. What I remember about the past, this is what it looks like. This is what I perceive is going to happen. Now, here's the crazy part. You can think 4 times faster than somebody can talk. So you can imagine somebody's talking and you're perceiving where they're going with it, you come up with the conclusion long before they're done, and you can't hear anything they're saying because you think you know what they meant. Now, let's take an event. Here comes an event. Our brain does a research to determine what we think is going to happen. Here's the curious part. Your subconscious will say, this is what happened all the times in the past. Primarily, what happened from conception to 10 years old is what we call the core. And that's going to be your primary information. It runs it now through your emotional calculator. Your emotional calculator is going to say, wait a minute, I don't feel in a good place. I don't like that other person. It's going to release neurochemicals into your body. Cortisol and adrenaline are the bad guys. Serotonin and dopamine are the good guys. Let's just say we perceive that it's not going to work out well and we're in a bad mood. And so cortisol races through our brain. It takes our cognitive thinking processing ability, greatly diminishes our ability to think clearly. It's called the stress response, the flight or fight.
Mm-hmm.
Takes our cognitive thinking from 720 bits of data to as low as 20 bits of data in a nanosecond. And we respond based on our diminished ability to think clearly. It's all about, I want to be safe. That's it.
Yeah, no, like when it comes to the whole fight and flight, yeah, so it's just like dealing with the priority of I need to like either whoop something's ass or like basically get out of it. When it comes to a sort of stressful situation, like maybe talking in public or anything like that, and that response, I think the hardest thing people can do is sort of be able to take that moment to take that step back and sort of really sort of assess the situation and the circumstances around it, with regards to whatever that situation might be, and like grow from there, and basically respond in the best way. And trust me, like I know that whole fight and flight thing in many circumstances, like, yeah, it's kicked me in the butt many a time, you know?
So here's the critical part. And I call it understanding your owner's manual. So as a devout Christian, I base my whole beliefs on the Bible. If you look, Adam and Eve were not created as emotional beings. But after the fall, we are emotional beings. So let's look at this real carefully. Is what is my brain doing? My brain is researching the past to determine what happened in the past. That's the determination I'm going to give to the future event that didn't happen yet. Where did they come up with that information? I put it there. God could not, the devil could not, my mom, my dad, nobody put it there. I chose how I am going to store that piece of information. You and I could be watching the exact same thing standing side by side, and we could come away with a different view of what happened. Why? Because you have your own mind, your own perceptions, your own everything that you record into your brain. What's that meaning? Now, here's the beautiful part. Only you are allowed to go back and rewrite that chapter. Just because that chapter's been written doesn't mean you can't go back and rewrite it. You can change the meaning. So let's use it. Go ahead.
No, please continue.
Let me use an example. My father left when I was 4 years old. So I grew up in this conservative Mennonite community, was very closed off from the world. And they didn't really like a lot of outside influence. So when my father left, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. So we were kind of left struggling on our own, floundering to figure out life. I would tell people all my life, I'm abandoned, I'm rejected. Out of that, I suffered through 2 major depressions. Last one 7 years ago, so 5 minutes away from suicide. What did I have to do? I had to go back to that original event. My father left. And I had to say, what does that mean? I had to change the meaning. I said, for 54 years, I'm abandoned, I'm rejected. The truth is, my father was empty and broken. He couldn't give me what he didn't have. What did it do? It radically changed the meaning. I went back and rewrote that chapter in my life. that paragraph. So in that would have been that one paragraph in my life that I based so much of my life on. My father rejected me. No, my father was broken and empty. He couldn't give me what he didn't have. When I changed that, I had a complete paradigm shift. And I continue. So I call it the simple step to hard process. Simple. You go back and change the meaning. The hard process, go back and change the meaning. I spent 60 years, sex, drugs, and rock and roll trying to hide that pain. What do you mean go back there and dig that pain up? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
I've been using all kinds of stuff to hide from that.
Yeah, no, but like this is the thing. You bring up a very good and valuable point because like many people, when it comes to sort of like pain, circumstances which might have hurt them in their lives, the reason why sometimes they carry that pain, like well, not like that millstone, but the reason why it's their like constant passenger in a negative way is because they haven't sort of confronted that pain. Because like yes, ultimately it is very uncomfortable, and basically going to a place of discomfort is not what most people want to do. They live for the finer things in life, and if you can get that sort of realm of comfort, yeah, they're gonna stay there. And like, yes, like you could have went, okay, yeah, my dad abandoned me. He just went like, and he rejected me, and you could have just left it at that. But you like decided to face that situation, face your pain, and make yourself really uncomfortable, live in that place of discomfort to basically try like having your breakthrough. And I think many people like out there need to like maybe face some uncomfortable things, maybe like uncomfortable truths or like uncomfortable circumstances which were way beyond their control, but not to sort of shy away from it. As you say, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, maybe more the rock and roll and drugs, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah. So I'm a personal transformation coach, and
Yeah.
I do these what I call an intense immersion. I call it in your space, in your face, where I'll go anywhere in the world and I'll stay in somebody's home for 3 to 5 days. And we start our session at 8 o'clock in the morning at their kitchen table. We're in session till 6 o'clock that night for 3 straight days. No phone calls, no interruptions, just me and the couple. And you know what we do? We don't talk about what they're fighting about. We don't talk about why their marriage is in shambles. We say, what's happening? And then I tie it back to the core, conception to 10. What is the belief that you had at your core that's triggering you to act the way you are now? It's not what you're dealing with now. It's always what you dealt with in the past. So you can imagine you got a splinter here in your arm and you go to tug, it's like, oh my God, that hurts. Whoo! I'm not going to touch it. So what do? You bandage up that splinter and somebody bumps into it and you're like, seriously, dude, can't you see I got a Band-Aid on there? And you, oh, I'm sorry. So what do? You bandage it up more. And then somebody bumps into our other side and the vibration goes through and you're like, we freak out again. So every time we go to pulling that splinter, it's like excruciatingly painful. So we just keep trying to put more Band-Aids and more cushions, and we try to protect it from getting bumped. Well, now all of a sudden, we put this big hoop around us. Somebody bumps the hoop. The vibration comes all the way through the arm. We freak out. What do? We put walls up. Well, if you can't respect me and my pain, I ain't going to let you close to me. So we push people out farther and farther away. Even the people we love, we keep them at arm's length and we keep them outside these walls so they can't bump into that pain that we won't deal with. Yes, grab a hold of that splinter and yank that. It is excruciatingly painful. Oh my God, it's unreal. But then you can be healed.
Yeah.
Then you can tear your walls down. Then people can come close to you. But this is why we don't let people close. This is why relationships fall apart, because each other is bumping into each other's wound, that splinter in their arm that they don't want to pull out. because it hurts too much. Yeah, dealing with this stuff is emotionally painful. I'm going to tell you, it's not easy, but it's immensely rewarding. Is now you can let your guard down, you can let the walls down, you can let people in, and even more so. See, people are a very limited success in life because they're constantly working an angle to stay safe. Why do I need to be safe? Because I'm full of splinters. I'm full of pain. I got all these emotional drama and baggage. So I'm always trying to set up these scenarios. I waste huge amounts of time trying to protect myself that you can't hurt me. Instead of just saying, hey, walk among the wolves, you're going to get bit, but it's okay. It's okay because I'm going to be okay. I'm going to walk out the other side and I'm not going to die. It's okay. But if you don't yank them things out, you'll never do that. And that's why so many people go to their grave with that song in their head, that idea, that dream, that passion. They're going to die with it inside their head because they never told anybody because they're afraid. The graveyard is the richest place in the world. That's where people take their dreams that they never shared because they were afraid of rejection.
Indeed, I agree. With regards to sort of despair, it's a festering wound which never heals until basically you do have these conversations with people, until you actually confront these things. And like this is the whole thing. If that despair is sort of wounded your soul in such a way that you can't focus on like new things to help you grow and succeed, then you find yourself staying in that same place in life, or worse still, falling back. And until you have that moment, until you have these conversations, until you sort of push, like maybe even just ask for that moment of help to help you heal, that despair will not fade. It will not, it's not a case of it goes away. It won't heal over and become that scar, which is which all of us carry our scars, because it's the thing that actually gives us character.
Yeah. And here's the number one before you can get healing is you got to stop shaming and blaming. Is what happened. It was bad. It was wrong. It should have never happened. There's no way to justify what happened. But as long as you want to shame or blame, you can't heal. But you got to let it go. You have to let it go. Shaming and blaming other people or shaming and blaming yourself is devastating. It is the absolute worst thing you could do to yourself. And unless you're just very selfish, self-centered, and don't care about helping anybody in the world, you got to let go of shame and blame. Bad things happen to good people because we have free will. It's that simple. It's going to happen unless you lock yourself in a cave and nobody can get to you. Bad things are going to happen to you. It's what are you going to do about it? How are you going to see it? So everything about healing is changing the meaning. My father left when I was 4 years old. I had to say my father was broken and empty. He couldn't give me what he didn't have. Now, I just want to share a story, a personal story of how we project other people's into other people. So my mom took us out just this last May. My wife and I are married 36 years. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. Same amazing woman. And she has to be married to me. She has to be amazing.
If it was a different woman, I'd be kind of like, what have you been doing? It's like swapping and changing. It's like, no.
So as we're sitting there, my mom took us out for dinner. And I'm telling my mom these amazing, incredible breakthroughs we're having, amazing things that are happening. Every single thing she said, she responded, yeah, well, I'm like, Mom, can't you just be happy for me? She goes, yeah, but I'm like, you're kidding. And on the way home, I said to my wife, oh my God, I just had an epiphany. Here I am, 59 and a half years old. And I finally realized this after 36 years of marriage. When my wife disagreed or didn't go along with what I said, I would get frustrated I was projecting my mother onto my wife because I never realized how broken and empty my mom was. Because I knew my dad was broken and empty because he left.
Mm.
I always put my mom on this pedestal. But all of a sudden I realized just in May, my mom is completely broken and empty. And I was getting angry at my wife for not agreeing with me. When I realized what my mom was doing, I no longer get angry at my wife. I've been totally radically transformed to how I see my wife when she doesn't agree with me. What was I doing? When a female I love so dearly did what my mom did, I projected on what my mom was doing. And that was not my wife's intent at all. So when I changed and realized why I was getting angry, it radically changed. And I don't get angry at my wife. I get disappointed. I wish she would do what I want, but I don't get angry about it. I used to get really frustrated about it. I mean, like, seriously, woman?
It's like, 36 years of marriage, and you're like, look, I know you're an optimist. Like, if you think, yes, my wife will do what I want. Yeah.
No, no.
It's like 36 years. Okay. Yeah. It's like,
So here's the beautiful part about this whole thing is when I came to that revelation, my relationship and how I see my wife and how I interact with my wife is radically changed because I'm no longer looking that she's against me. It wasn't what she was doing. It was my perception of what she was doing. I was projecting what my mother was doing onto my wife. Now, my mom inevitably, again, just 2 weeks ago, did something that was so uncalled for. I mean, I'm like, seriously, Mom, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Well, she don't have to answer that because she can't. I can answer it for her. She's broken and empty. She cannot give me what she does not have. She don't have it. And if I demand that she gives it to me, but there's two broken people now.
mm.
So if I'm demanding that she gives me what she doesn't have, there's two broken. Because neither one of us are going to get what we want.
Mm.
She don't have it, and I'm demanding she gives it to me. Guess what? You're looking for a massive conflict in our relationship. Because I'm demanding what she can't give me. I know she's my mom. Technically she's supposed to have it, but if she don't, she don't. It's that simple.
Yeah, with that, knowing she doesn't have it, like in your opinion, she might be like, oh, "Of course I've got it. Like I've had it all the time. Like, what are you talking about?" But like, this is the thing. Like, would you like? And not from the aspect of you wanting to get that for yourself, but helping your mother find the things which have left her broken and empty, like to help her be fulfilled, like in like this stage in her life. Have you thought about training, like coaching her with that, or it's a case of she's like, keep that coaching stuff away from me? Thank you very much, son, but no.
Pretty much the latter.
Okay.
So you can only help anybody that really wants to change.
Mm.
My mom has played the victim for 54 years. She's played the victim. I've never heard her once say that she did something wrong that my dad left. It was always everything he did wrong. All my life is everything he did wrong. And unfortunately, I really did try to show my mom, what we do. I explained our theory and understanding emotions, the deeper working of the mind. She was not open to it. She sat and listened, but it was very evident afterwards she didn't internalize it. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my mom dearly. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Is because I know by me being transparent and open, it's going to radically shift somebody else's life. And this is so important. And I can't say that 2 weeks ago when my mom did this to me that I wasn't upset. And I actually had no intentions of, going to Christmas dinner. right after that happened, I really like, you know what? I'm not going to Christmas dinner. No way. She's been doing this to me all my life. And it took me a couple of days, like, duh, Ray, shut up. What are you doing? Mom's broken and empty. Why do you expect her to give you something she don't have? Just stop. Stop shaming, stop blaming. And I was blaming her. I was honestly blaming her for what she did. She don't know better.
Mm.
She don't know better. And I tried to justify why I'm not going to Christmas dinner because she keeps doing it. Now, there are some people that we recommend disconnect from a parent because their parent is extremely toxic. If you're in an extremely toxic environment, by all means, stay away. By all means. If it's dangerous, stay away. But my mom's she's not that bad. It's just she can't affirm what I'm doing. And if she sees something that she doesn't like, she's very vocal about, why are you doing that? That's not what we do. Well, I'm not you. But she's very quick to tell me that she doesn't approve of what I'm doing. And it's nothing bad. It's like, I had this really cool hat and I love this hat. And so I'm wearing this hat and she's just like, why are you wearing that for? What are you doing that for? And I'm like, oh my goodness, are you serious? And she wouldn't let it go.
No, I can imagine. Like, because like this is the thing, like with regards to like, I'm happy you told me that story because it's like one of those things where you can meet some people who coach and everything like this, and like you say yes, and like they'll talk away and like go, yes, I'm perfect in every way. I'm flawless. I have no flaws. My methods are like right, and I'm glad you said that because look. One, trying to master your mindset, but the most difficult thing is that mastering emotions because like, yeah, when you're talking to like when people are talking to people they love and like this is the thing, the most unconditional love anyone can have is between one and a parent. It gets rather complicated because let's just say parents know how to push your buttons in the most unique ways, as well as knowing how to push their buttons in the most unique ways. And yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is, as a parent, we have an idea of what we want our child to become.
Mhm.
We don't want them to make the mistakes we made, and we want them to have a much better life. So it's all good intent. We try to guide our children in these ways. But what we don't realize, they're not us. They're not going to be like us. They have a whole mindset and a passion and a calling that is so radically different than ours. And here we are trying to squeeze them into our own ideal of what their life should look like. And if we don't open ourselves up to say, we have to let them fall so they can learn to walk. But we got to learn that as they're adults. We got to let them stumble as an adult. Because as a baby, as a toddler, we let them fall all the time. So why don't we let them fall when they're adults? That's how they learn.
Yeah, no, but that is the weird thing though, because okay, yes, as a toddler, a baby trying to learn to walk and everything like this, yes, you do let them fall time and time again. But I don't know what happens from this sort of, yeah, you're a toddler going into sort of like going from there to sort of kindergarten to then in school and everything like this. All of a sudden, like it's like a truck backs up, beep, beep, beep. And then basically in the child's room, it just dumps all this cotton wool just so it's like, yeah, okay, safety first with everything. Or it's like, yeah, like, okay, when I was a kid, like, yes, it was like, yeah, parent just like, go outside and play. I will see you when I see you. Off you go. And like, yeah, you come back when like the street lights come on or whatnot, you make sure you're back, done. Today, it's just like, okay, little Timmy, little Dorothy, like, yeah, you've got structured play this, you got a play date here, you got to play date this, and like you look at, like, if you put them on a Microsoft calendar, you might go, oh my God, what, like, where's that sliver of free time? Like, do you like? I do find it odd that the world is like that. And look, I'm saying this, I'm not a parent yet, but if I do become a parent, I'm a little bit worried that is that my sort of destiny as well. I thought I speak a good game right now. Just like, but when I be like, oh, dear God, this little bundle of joy is here right now, and they need to. Okay, yeah, fall down, and yeah, I'd like to order a large truck of cotton wool, please.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yep.
but
No, we
you
do. We
understand.
do.
You
Then there's
understand.
unfortunately there's a whole nother paradigm where the father and the mother are totally absent emotionally. So I wrote my book called Daddy, Why Don't You Love Me? Healing a father's blessing to a son and a daughter, healing the wounds of the absent and abusive father. So unfortunately, we see a lot of fathers that are in the home that are not emotionally connected at all. They're emotionally disconnected. Again, you can't give what you don't have. So now we have broken fathers raising up broken fathers that raise up broken fathers.
Hmm. Like, one of the things, like, slightly pushed back, because in many sort of respects, like, the sort of a role of the father is more sort of down, like, protection and provider, if you like go down the sort of like traditional like framing of what a father is. And like, yeah, Kira comes into that, but it's like comes in a slightly different fashion, because it's like, okay, I need to have, like, there's a primitive bit of your brain which is like, okay, go time, I need to take out that, it's threatening this family unit. No, can't have it. So like, it's one of those things where I feel sometimes with the 21st century and the way everything goes on now, that it's like going, okay, everything what a father was and was like good and true and wholesome and everything like this. No. We got to now stick it into this like hexagon peg where it used to fit quite comfortably in a square peg, if you get what I mean. So it's like sometimes I just like go, are you guys really sort of like, are you forcing it down one way when it should like maybe evolve and change slightly, but not forced into this sort of rectangle peg, if you get what I mean?
Mhm. So fathers are very, very critical in a child's development.
Mm.
There's a lot of statistics that show teen pregnancy, high school dropout, crime, incarceration, drug use, alcohol abuse,
Mm.
uh, that stem from the fatherless homes or people that don't feel accepted and loved by their fathers. Very, very, very critical. Now, there's that overprotective that some society seems to be driven into. Everybody gets a trophy. I can't let your feelings get hurt. That's bad. That's not love. That's not love. You really need to let your child come up against them hard struggles, but be there, be available to get them through it. So our biggest struggle in the world is like, you're not getting out and playing in the dirt. We're not getting our immunity system built, but we're not playing in the dirt emotionally. We're trying to protect our children emotionally as well.
Mm.
We're trying to sterilize their emotional world. Well, what happens when you get into the real world? The real world is cruel. I mean, it is very, very cruel. It's a garbage dump emotionally, because wherever you go, there's all these things bombarding you for your attention. Ads on the radio, ads on the billboards, the newspapers. Everywhere you go, you have all these things competing for your attention. Now you have people competing for your attention and people trying to demand you do what they want. Republicans, Democrats, Green Party, gays, lesbians, liberals, Christians, Jewish, Buddhists, all of it, you name it. Everybody's competing for everybody. So what's happening? If you don't let your child kind of learn their own balance in all of this, they're going to get gravitated to one so radically that they're going to get so encapsulated in this one thing because they don't have a well-balanced emotional system.
Mm.
And that's just what creates radicals, is because they become extremely unbalanced. So coming back to the father in the home, is when that child doesn't have that good father parental figure showing the emotion, not just say, hey, here's the money, I paid the rent, here's $5 for your allowance, leave me alone, I'm watching football or I'm watching soccer, whatever you guys, whatever it is. So, and the child's like, wow, well, I wanted to connect with dad, but he's not available. So what does the child do? Is a mother, I don't care what anybody says, a mother cannot take the place of the father. I've seen a lot of single moms saying, well, I'm his dad. I was like, no, you're not. I'm sorry. I love you. I appreciate what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job as a mom. You're an unbelievably amazing mom. You're not his dad. You can't be. It's just not the same.
Yeah, no, like because there's been over the sort of course of like from, I would say from this like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, naughty, I guess there have been sort of many sort of movement like going, yes, like father's not important, or yes, like the sort of role of the father has not, how can I put, sometimes been under the attack of, I would say, some more extreme groups where they're like, yeah, you don't need to have a father. You don't need a man in this child's life. You can do it all by yourself. And let's just say, okay, from like I've seen it, I've seen it. I don't know personally, but I've seen how hard it can be for like, yeah, a parent or parents, like when they're both there, just dealing with a small, like 8-pound child. It's like, yeah, it's like,
It's like I know you feel like you have a bomb on your hands. This tiny little thing can consume so much.
Yeah, you don't know if it's going to scream at you, poo at you, or just like do both all at the same time. You're like, all right. So you're like, okay.
Don't forget spitting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, sorry. I forgot about the spittle. It's like, it's like you feel like a man who's had all three of these all happen to you at the same time. Why, child? Why?
Yeah.
But all of this, and then as time goes on, and like that child becomes a person with characters and traits and stuff like this. I've seen many a household where, yeah, one child is sweetness and light, and the other child is just rabid. That's like, right, you're going to go same environment, same household, and you're like going, where did this personality come from? You and then you. How does that?
Yeah. Where'd you come?
Yeah. Just like, can I play? Over there, far away. but without that, and like some sort of the methodologies, which when like if a mother's in the house and everything like this, they'll be like, yes, nurturing, caring, and stuff like this. Yep. Be a little bit safer. Don't rough house and stuff like this. And I've seen dads when they're like, when the mother's not looking, just like, kid, and there's like the kids on board, just like, yeah, come on.
The child's flying 10 feet in the air, dad's catching them, and telling them jump off the balcony, I'll catch you when mom's not looking.
Yeah, you get that sort of physical rough and toughness, and then like, yeah, dads can be a little bit more sort of like, yeah, not emotionally closed off. Some dads can be, but like, yeah, it's more like they're a little bit emotionally more hard, if you get what I mean. Not in a, oh, you're so closed off, but yeah, hardened to sort of the life out there, and they can pass that on to like, just like, oh yeah, you need to be a little bit tougher, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, and so what happens is when that child grows up in the home, whether the father is completely missing or he's there physically but not emotionally, or worst of all, if he's abusive, either physically, mentally, that child starts to ingrain into their brain, this is the meaning of life. Because from conception to 10 years old, your brain is in hyper neuroplasticity, simply meaning it's sucking in tons of information, but it's not developed enough to say, oh, dad's just being a goofball. He's tired, he's overwhelmed. That's why he did that. No, it just takes it in. Oh, that's what that means. Oh, that's what that means. Oh, that's what that means. Well, now here's the problem. You are the sum total of every part that makes up the whole of who you are. When your brain does the research, it doesn't just look for the good things, it looks for everything to come up with the conclusion, what's going to happen in the next moment based on what I believe about my past. It all happens at the speed of light in a nanosecond. Does a research. Oh, the last time that happened, this was the outcome. What are my emotions right now? Oh, I'm not in a good way. Cortisol and adrenaline gets racing into your brain. Your cognitive thinking drops dramatically. You're in fight or flight.
Yep.
You make decisions to be safe. So if you and I are in a discussion and you say something, hey, Ray, if you do that, I'm going to, and I'm like, what? If you do that, I'm going to, and you're like, oh, no, you just didn't. And then you say, I'm going to, and I say, oh, you did what? I'm going to, and you did what? And that's just in the first 2 minutes. We're in this escalated. What happened in your brain? You felt threatened. You wanted to be safe. You said whatever you had to push me back. I feel threatened. I need to push you back. You feel threatened. You push me back. And that's all in 2 minutes. We're in a all out shouting match within no time at all. Why? Because of how we seen our past. When you're in a good mood, you're not in a shouting match. When you're in a bad mood, bam, that quick, your voice is escalated, you're up on your heels, you're like really leaning into it, and you're trying to say, you better watch it, you better back yourself up now. But when you're in a good mood, the exact same thing can happen. You're like, all right. No need to get, up tense about it. We can talk this through. What happened? It's all in your emotions. Where are you in the moment? What are emotions? Our emotions are simply a set of beliefs of how we perceive our past, our present, and what we perceive is going to happen in our future. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. Who gets to determine them? I do. 100%. 100%. Thomas Edison had a fire at one of his factories, and I think it was like $1 million loss. And his son found him, and he said to his son, quickly, go get your mother. She'll never see a sight like this again in her life. His $1 million loss. And he's excited that his wife would see this, but she'll never see a thing like this again in his life. He came out with 3 inventions within a couple months after that. Who determined the emotions of what was happening? 100% himself. Mm-hmm. You alone give the meaning to every single event. You alone can change the meaning you gave to the past. My father left when I was 4. I said I was abandoned, rejected. Now I changed the meaning. My dad's broken. My dad was empty. My mom's broken. My mom's empty. I can't get what they don't have. Stop demanding. Stop shaming. Stop blaming. Stop telling them they have to give it to me. They don't got it. They're broke. They can't give it to me. So what do? Is I got to change that meaning. And I got to stop relying or looking on them or waiting for them to be unbroken.
Interesting. Like with regards to that, yes, you said your dad's broken, your mom's broken. And look, people who listen to this might go, okay, yeah, so what about your personal accountability? What about your personal responsibility to this situation? And like, look, you're a kid and it's like, yeah, like, what about the part you had to play in your mother's life more so than your father's life because he jetted out of thought. What would you say to people if they came to you and said that to you?
So I was not a good kid. I was going to be honest. I did a lot of wrong things because I was what? I was looking for attention. I was looking for affection. There was an emptiness. There was a brokenness in me. I was very, very broken. I went through 2 major depressions. The last one was, 7 years ago. I wanted to die. I was totally done. So I spent 30 to 40 years of my 60 years, anger, depression, and rage. I was not a good person. I'm just going to be honest. I've done a lot of things I regret, a lot of things I would never dream of doing again. So as a child, I didn't know how to do it or how to in the perspective. I just knew what was happening was not good. I didn't know. I could have told you what I didn't like. I could have told you what I wanted, but I didn't know what to do about it because even in my early 20s, after I got married, people were telling me I was doing wrong. I was like, no kidding. I know what is wrong. I just don't know what to do about it. I don't know how to fix it. Well, just go to church more, pray more, read your Bible more. Yeah, well, I already did that, and it's not everything. There's something missing. I wasn't getting it. So it is. You don't know what you don't know. And now here's the thing: this is why I'm so driven to do what I do. There has to be a simpler way. And people go to therapy and psychology. And I'm afraid too many of them people, they drag it out. Well, how do you feel? They're not making the people take personal responsibility for how they think. Because, if you look at narcissistic personality, what is a narcissist? It's a way of thinking. So what is the cure? Is cognitive behavior therapy. What is cognitive behavioral therapy? Changing how you think. It's like you change how you think. The narcissist personality disorder can be cured because you change how you think. It's the simple step, the hard process is you got to recognize how your thinking is wrong. You alone, God can't do it. The devil can't do it. Only you can change your mind. Now, here's the thing. What you're doing is not working. Whether you're a narcissist or an invert, or an extrovert, or whatever you're doing, drug addict, it doesn't matter. Why are you doing it? There's something missing. The narcissist, the drug addict, the alcoholic, the person that, adultery, it doesn't matter. There's a reason you're doing it. You're cheating on your wife, you're multiple partners, drugs, there's a reason. What is the driving force? If you never, I call it the 5 steps. Stop. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? Is it true? What's the truth? If you never stop to say, what am I thinking? You're never going to fix it. But if you never get to the why am I thinking that? Nothing's going to change. You have to be willing to stop and say, what's going on, Ray? Why are you doing that, Ray? If you don't get to the why, forget it. You're doomed. You're going to continue. You can go all the therapy you want until you get to the why. Every fruit has a root. If you do not go to that root, that fruit will always be there. I don't care. You go to AA meetings every single day. You go to NA meetings every single day. You're going to constantly battle with wanting that drug. You're in accountability, you get locked up 20 years, you come out, that reason that you wanted that drug in the first place is still there. So maybe you don't do the drugs, you're going to do something else. You'll find it a substitute. Every fruit has a root. Stop looking at the fruit. Go to the root. What's the root? Why? Stop. What am I thinking? Why? Is it true? What's the truth? If you never get to that why, you're stuck. Because you won't pull that splinter out of your arm. It hurts too much. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to talk about that. Well, guess what? You be stuck. You be stuck all your life there. I'm sorry. until you go back there and grab that splinter and say, what, we're going through the pain. And that's what I do in my 3-day immersions is we go to the pain. We go to and we get that truth. I have a 95% success rate in restoring marriages. Success to me is 6 months later, they're still doing well. That's success. Not now, I have 100% money back guarantee. If I spend 3 days in their home and I don't change their life at all, I'll give their money back, including airfare, all expenses, before I leave. That'll never happen because I will have success, guaranteed, in changing their life. What I'm talking about, they having success is our success rate is 6 months later, they're still doing well and getting better. Mm-hmm. Now, there is a certain element of people, it don't matter what you tell them, they don't want to change because they don't want to deal with the pain. They don't want to deal with it. And guess what? They're going to be stuck. They're going to stay stuck. It's that simple.
Yeah. With the immersion therapy, I'm curious, like, okay, how quickly can you sort of work out that there will be, if there is hope or there's not?
Oh, on the first phone call.
On the first phone call. Okay, so it doesn't even have to get down to the 3 days. It's just like, oh, you hear them on the phone, you're like, ah.
Yeah, so one spouse will call me. Usually the wife calls me first. And I say, I need to talk to the husband before I get there. I just need to know they're okay with it, even before I accept their payment. As I need to know that the husband is going to be willing to work with me.
Yeah.
It's usually the wife calling. And I can tell on the phone call if he's going to work, if he's going to work it. If either one of them's not going to work it, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. It's just 3 days of misery for me. And I don't want it. I mean, I don't care how much they pay me. I don't want to sit in your house for 3 days and you not work with me. It would be a complete waste of my time because I'm very results. I'm not so much about the money. I'm about the result. Is because when I go out and transform a husband and a wife's life, I just affected literally 10 people because it's the people that they're in touch with, the closest they're close to. So if I help one person, it's a force multiplier. If I can improve your life 10%, you're going to improve other people around you by 2% because of how you changed. So every person that I help, I literally help 10 more people in a minor way that I never talked to. I never met them, never knew them. But because you're different, you're going to act and react completely differently to these other 10 people. And it could be more. So yeah, the phone call, and then what we do is we do an intake form. We have a very lengthy form that they fill out, talks about their history. And there's you can starting to read between the lines. Things don't line up. Because I'm just going to say it, I'm going to be honest. There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing you can tell me that would shock me. Nothing. There's nothing that you're going to catch me off guard or like, oh my gosh, I've never imagined that could happen. No. Nothing.
I would say give it enough time. Give it enough time.
Human. So if you break it down, break everything down, break it down to its lowest denominator. There is nothing that's uncommon. I'm talking psychopath, everything. There's nothing uncommon. It is really, really, really simple. When you break it all down to its individual pieces, there's a very common pieces that make up the whole. Now that whole can become complex in itself. But when you break them all down, there's a few elements that make the whole. Now the whole takes on its form of its own. But again, there's nobody yet that has shocked me or shared anything that just like made me go, oh my God, I can't deal with that. Nothing. So I'm saying that to give you hope. I really am saying to give you hope. Whatever you're dealing with can be dealt with. Whatever you are struggling with You can overcome it. I guarantee you can. There's only one thing. You have to want to. You have to be willing to yank that splinter out. You have to be willing to go through the pain to change the meaning. And it will radically set you free. I'm saying radically set you free.
I hear that. I hear that. Now, one of the things I'm curious about, it's like, because look, if you are doing like, okay, if you're doing a 3-day immersion with like these couples to help them with their lives, and like, they could have a myriad of things which are like putting them like in the place they're in. Like, how do you like detox is not the right word. How do you empty your cup from that experience to be ready for the next coaching experience? What do you like? What sort of like things do you do mentally, like emotionally, physically, if it comes down to that, to like go, hey, that's that. Now, hello.
Number one, I do not write anything down they tell me. I don't want to remember it. I am going to, whatever you tell me, I'm going to deal with it in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
After that moment, I don't want to remember it. I do remember some, obviously, but I don't keep notes. I don't try to keep mental or physical notes because I am there to help you with what you're telling me right now. If you sign up with a continuing coaching program, we will deal with whatever you bring up. Because if we had dealt with it in the moment, then that's done. Now we're going to move on to the next thing. So you're going to tell me what you're struggling with. I just let it go. It's not mine. Whatever you share with me is not mine to keep. It's yours. I don't need to carry that with me. I don't want it. I don't want to carry that with me. It's not mine. I'm just like, you know what? It's all good. I am going to do everything I can do to help you in that moment. The next time we meet, the next time we talk, you tell me what you're dealing with. It'll pop back of what we were doing before, but I don't try to consciously remember it. I don't try to like, okay, I need to remember this about that person. No, it'll come back. And if it doesn't, they'll tell me. They'll remind me. Because you will drive yourself insane trying to carry that burden. It is not yours. You cannot keep it with you. You have to let it go. You walk out the door, you let it there. Very, very critical. You talk about massive burnout in no time if you walk around trying to keep that on your shoulders.
Yeah. Because I often wonder how like any like coach therapist in like in that type of field like can like go, okay, I've helped you, like I've gone into the trenches with you, like bond, like it's just human nature, bonds and like relationships form from that, and then to like okay, now I need to sort of like cut that off or like try to leave as much of it behind as possible so you can be then emotionally fit and strong for the next people to come along, which it's one of those things where I don't think anyone really thinks about it at all who is outside of the coaching or like therapist field. It's like you do your job, yeah, and off you go. Don't really care about that side. So I just sometimes feel, yeah, that weight, what can be carried, it's not just their weight, it becomes slightly your weight as well.
Yeah. It can very easily become your problem. Very, very easily. And the whole time you're in this session, you got to realize this is not about you. It is not your responsibility, no matter what they do. I'm sure I'm disappointed when I see that potential and they don't walk through that potential. It is disappointing, but you got to let it go. Very, very critical. It's not your problem. It's not your circus. It's not your monkey. Let it go. You cannot invite all their monkeys to your circus because you can't feed them all. You cannot possibly feed all their monkeys. Let them go. You have to. It's not cruel. It's not. It's not bad. It's not your problem. It's really when you're with them, they're the person you're working with. You're giving them guidance and direction. You love them. But if they want to run out in the street, it's not your problem. I mean, you can't be there for them all the time. At some point, you get up, you leave, you go home. They're going to do what they do because, let's be honest, it's what they truly want to do. Because if they truly, truly did not want to do it, they wouldn't be doing it. Nobody's got a little puppet string and forcing them to do and think what they're doing or thinking. They're choosing based upon their belief system. Again, go back, rewrite the meanings. It will radically change your mind. You have to stop blaming. You have to stop shaming them and yourself. Take blame and shame out. No more blame, no more shame to them or you. It doesn't help you. You can blame them, and what is it going to do? They're in prison for 50 years, but you're still blaming them. So your life is ruined because somebody ran over, I don't know, your mom. Somebody hit your mom with their car. And this is a very real incident. You know, a spouse or a child gets hurt in an auto accident. The person that was driving drunk went to prison for 50 years. Well, that person that survived the accident is blaming and shaming the drunk driver. Was he wrong? Yes, 100% wrong. But your blame and shame against that person didn't bring anything back, didn't bring your loved one back, didn't give you the quality of life back. It destroyed your life. Did the person do wrong? 100% wrong. Yes. Should they be punished? Yes. 50 years? I doubt it. But the point is, you become in a prison of your own mind because you refuse to let it go. You become the prisoner without bars.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter the scenario, you could get any kind of scenario you could put in there. Any scenario you want. As long as you're going to shame or blame somebody, you build a prison without bars that is going to trap you the rest of your life.
Indeed.
It's a horrible place to be.
Yeah, I know. Like
you're the only one that has the key.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because like this is the thing, like with many a person, like okay, like we're meant to have a look at the past so we can learn from it, like be in the present and then look to the future. And basically what we do in the present builds towards that future, which it's always going to be in the horizon. If you make it to the future, yes, I think you've like transcended and all your troubles on this planet have like sadly moved on. I think you may have frozen. I think you may have frozen. Oh yeah. No, you're back. Okay. Yeah. No,
I'm just captivated by what you're saying.
What can I say? I know I've got a smooth voice, silky smooth. Yeah, as I was saying, if you get to your future, you've truly most probably transcended, and everything what goes on in the world is no longer an issue for you. But when people like look back at their past, but they get into that realm of dwelling on their past again and again and again, ever being that sort of dark cloud which surrounds them, ever like distracting them for their present, and basically distracting them from their future. So you can't, when you're distracted in your present, you cannot build for your future. And that horizon is always going, like you don't make it to your future, but it's a case of that potential future where you could have been that much more along, where you could maybe have been that much more happier. Maybe you might have been doing something, who knows, courageous, adventurous, like life-affirming, world-changing, will be like robbed from them and basically denied the actual life it needs to be in this world. It's one of those things where, yeah, the past, despair, it's a very hard thing. It's very easy to fall into, and like being guarded to that, you know, like having the sort of mental fortitude, like what people need out there. I think it sometimes takes a lot of work to really be in that place where they can go, yes, I've seen my past. I'm still in the present and I look to the future. And I don't know what that future might hold, but while you're working in the present, you can be building something which can be truly glorious.
Yes. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I talked to a girl. Her husband passed away unexpectedly a couple months back. She has two young children. He just had a heart attack at work, totally unexpected. Now, sure, she's going to go through a grieving process, which is only right.
Yeah.
The thing is you don't grieve for 10 years. At some point, you're going to choose to stop grieving and move on with life. Now, nobody's telling you how long you should grieve or not grieve. That's 100% up to you. The point is, at some point, you are going to move on. You get to choose. And if you only choose to grieve for a week and you get the mental stability to say, wait a minute, I can't change it. It is what it is. I'm going to move forward. Nobody should condemn you for your lack of grieving because it's your emotional strength you're going to grieve longer or grieve less. Nobody's saying this, you have to do it for this amount of time or that you have to grieve for at least a year. No, not at all. The choice is yours. Just don't choose to continue to let it ruin your life. Like, I'm going to be honest, my mom has blamed my dad ever since he left. Never took personal responsibility, greatly hindered her life. And she's still grieving about it because the remarks she'll make. I'm like, wow, you still haven't let that go. You're in captivity to that. And that destroys your life if you're not willing to let it go, whether it be the physical loss of somebody to death or a separation or a theft or a loss of a job, loss of a home, loss of a business. Doesn't matter what your loss is. Yes, it hurts. It really does hurt. Nobody's denying that. It's how long do you want to linger with that? How long do you want to have that hold you captive? And it'll hold you captive in the invisible prison of your mind as long as you allow it. Now, if somebody fell over and you didn't have any remorse about it, man, I'd have to question whether you really care.
It's like, these are human emotions, aren't they? Aren't you happy? Okay. Why do you sit close to the door?
My point is we 100% choose our emotions. So you can never make me happy. You can never make me mad. I can be mad because of what you did because I chose to be angry. I can choose to be happy because of what you did because I chose to be happy. But my emotions are 100% my choice. Because if you could make me angry, that means you could make me happy. So if I can make somebody angry when they're happy, that means I should be able to make them happy when they're angry. So when my wife gets upset, I should just be able to go in there and like, hey, baby, whoop, whoop, and make her happy. Try that sometime.
You know what? Hey, I'll try that with I'll try that with my lady when she comes back home later. Just like, hey, you're happy. Why are you clicking that?
Yeah.
Happy.
What are you talking about? I'm Aladdin. I can make magic. I can make you happy.
Why are you looking angry, girl? Okay.
You're supposed to be happy.
It's like
and she just say, bam, how do you feel right now?
In pain. Feel a slight swelling to the side of my head.
Exactly. I feel blunt force trauma on the side of my face.
Yeah. Don't hit me again, please. Uh,
Let's try it one more time. You be happy.
it's like a,
It's like, oh
it's like
man,
a,
both sides of my face hurt.
Just like, Papa Ray, what happened to you? I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk.
Don't want to
I
talk
told
about
my
it.
wife she was happy 2 times.
Yeah. Uh, after those 2 times, she was smiling for some strange reason.
Yeah.
You are happy. There you go. Mission accomplished. Help me. So I have to ask, like, okay, you are the proud, like, creator of 2 books. Now, how long, like, what made you decide to create these books?
Yeah, so I wrote these 2 books. It's Daddy, Why Don't You Love Me? Father's Blessing to a Son, Healing the Wounds of the Absent Abusive Father. And the same book is written to the daughter. And I was out of my personal experience, but when I was in Brazil on a mission trip, the Holy Spirit told me to stand in the place of this girl's father and bless her as my daughter. And after I'd done that, I went back again in 2006. Same thing happened. Literally every person that came to me for prayer. Went back in 2010 as a solo trip to share this blessing, just to talk about this and share that blessing. Went back a total of 4 times on my own. Now I've stood in the gap and blessed people as a son and a daughter for thousands of people. And so I'm like, man, I want to reach millions of people with this message, because this father's blessing is where I stand in the place of a father and bless people as a son and a daughter, does more in my transformational coaching than almost anything, because it deals with a very, very deep wound of a child not feeling loved by their father. And when I stand in that place and I say, I accept you and love you. And I started conception, first, second, third trimester, literally through every single part of their life, speaking life and acceptance into each one of them parts. It is unbelievable the transformation that happens when I do that. It is unreal. And then when I get the parents and I guide the parents to doing that with their children, the transformation is phenomenal. I'm like, I got to write a book about this. And that's what I did. So it's on Amazon. It's called Daddy, Why Don't You Love Me? A father's blessing to his son, father's blessing to a daughter, 2 separate books. Healing the Wounds of the Absent and Abusive Fathers. And the reason that mine is so different than other ones out there is a lot of people say, well, God's your father. And I'm sorry, but as a devout Christian, if you don't go back and fill the father emptying the wound with the earthly father's love, they're going to struggle the rest of their life. Yeah, they're going to connect to God, but they're still going to have that struggle, because the love deficit that is not filled with what was missing is never going to be healed. So you can try, you can't fill it with mommy love. You can't fill it with anything. You got to fill it with dad. So me as a father, I stand in that place, and anybody can do this, is say, can I bless you as my son or my daughter? And if they're okay with it, you share this exact same thing that I share, and you will see radical transformation and freedom in that person's life. It is amazing how powerful that is, because they're hearing that very, very important thing they never heard or felt. I have so many stories that I could share over and over, that the transformation when the people felt that loved, and I'm just standing in the place of their fathers and sharing that blessing. Amazing, bro. I'm telling you, if God stood before me and said, Ray, I'm going to let you do one thing the rest of your life, instantly I would say, I want to play that father's blessing for everybody I meet. That would be the only thing I would ever do the rest of my life if I was only allowed to do one thing. Because I've seen the powerful impact, the transformation that I've seen that this do is more than anything else I've ever done in my life. As a matter of fact, I would love to travel anywhere in the world, sharing this blessing corporately in civic centers and churches and groups. And like I did in Brazil, we go down there, we go into the churches. Sometimes we start at 7 o'clock in the afternoon and we go till 1 o'clock in the morning, literally, because I said, I'm not leaving until everybody got something. And what we would do is I would share this corporately, talk about the different things, what happens, how the heart goes closed, share it corporately. And I'd say, now there's men and women standing across the front of the auditorium that when I'm done, you come up to them for a physical impartation where they'll anoint you with oil and just share a few small, short words. But I said, we're not stopping until literally every person gets through that line. And there were times where we didn't leave that till 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, from 7 o'clock till 12:30, 1 o'clock. So we're not done until everybody, I don't care if they want to go through 2 times, we're going to give them what they need. We're here. And I'm just saying that because I would love to go anywhere in the world and do that corporately, fill stadiums, because people need this. This is so critical. And if you look at the social struggles we face in the world, and you can tie so many back to the absent and abusive fathers, the homes that they don't got it. And I want to be a father to the fatherless. That's there you go. There it is. I want to be a father to the fatherless.
A father to the fatherless. Ooh, that is big. That is deep. That is a vision, and wow, one hell of a purpose, to say the least. Yeah. Now, like, this is the thing with regards to sort of getting this message out. Okay, right now, corporate going out, like going around the world, it might happen on a small scale for you at this present time, but like, what sort of other sort of strategies have you been applying? Have you been like putting, like, I know you've said yes before we started, you've been on 20 different podcasts, like in the last few days, to
Last
get that
month. Over the last month.
Okay, the last month,
Yeah.
to get the word out. And yeah, have you thought about what other strategies, like YouTube, like TikTok?
Yeah, glad you brought that out. So I send Shaquille O'Neal, I send him a thing on Facebook, on his LinkedIn. Hopefully he's very much about community effort, family issues. He's very, very big on that. And I'm starting a fatherhood initiative in my area, meeting with my local Congress and senator, and getting a couple of business leaders together. I want to brainstorm is how do we reach the community, what I'm going to call them the disadvantaged community, because I grew up, we didn't have the money to get coaching or counseling or any of that good stuff. And I want to, like some of the things I shared, do an hour-and-a-half seminars for free in the community that people can come out to once a month, learn life skills, understand emotions, really learn these things that you could only really understand by if you went to seminars. And some of these seminars cost $400 or $500 and up. You know, the better the seminar, the more you're going to have to pay for it. So I want to be able to go out and do these seminars anywhere and have corporations sponsor the advertisement, sponsor the cost of the building. People could just come in and sit down. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to buy anything. They just got to be there and listen. Because everything that I say is going to trickle in. Some people are going to soak it in fast and going to have major change. Other people are going to soak it in slow and they're going to have a little bit of change. But change is change. Changing is the beginning. You know, if they don't get it, how are they going to change? You can't be what you don't have. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't know what you don't know. Who's telling them? Who's training them? Who's teaching them? You know, I know we're not going to touch everybody. It's not possible. But the ones that do show up will never be the same because they showed up. And that's like me going out and doing these father blessing corporate events. The people that do show up will never be the same because they did show up. The people that read my book, will never be the same because it's powerful information. Yeah, you might have to read it like I read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich probably 3 or 4 times. Each time I get something more out of it. I listen to audiobook. Some of them audios I listen to 5 and 6 times because every time I get more out of it.
Outstanding, outstanding. So with this, you're looking to get out there, take over the world, bit by bit, like if it's a game of risk. So now, if I like, if I could give you one wish, and I've got to reveal I am a being of supreme cosmic power.
All right,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah, one wish before you say anything, Papa Ray. Like you can't wish for all the wishes in the world. You cannot wish for world peace. You can't like wish for COVID to be gone. Like just get a vaccine out there.
Something realistic.
Yeah. Basically, yes, something realistic. And yeah, by all means, you cannot write down on a piece of paper all of these things and go, yes, I wish they can all come true, Ray. I see you. I see you. What would be that one realistic wish? What would it be?
So my one wish would be to get on Oprah to broadcast my message to the world. I want to get on the biggest talk show in the world so that I can get that message of love, of restoring the heart of the father and the child. That is my wish, is to get on any and every talk show that I can just get that message out, because it's critical. We have world struggles. I'm just going to call them, the world is struggling. The world is hurting. My one wish is I want to get my message on talk shows, news broadcasts, BBC, ABC, NBC, CNN. I don't care who takes it. I want that truth to get into the minds and hearts of the people, knowing that some people are going to radically take it in, other people are going to slowly take it in, but they're never going to be the same because they took it in. That's my wish.
Okay.
That's my wish. Yeah.
I'll get working on that for you right away. That was.
Thank you.
That was my final question. But yes, what I would simply say to you is this: how can people find you out there in the big wide world, on those interwebs?
Yes. So I have 2 websites. The first one is fathersblessing.info, info, fathersblessing.info. That's where you can see a video of me sharing that blessing to a son and a daughter. You can get in contact with me through that website. The other one is ILAP Now. It's ILAPNOW.com. That's my coaching website. Again, you can contact me through that website. That's geared toward the coaching. The other one is strictly for the Father's blessing.
Perfect. I'll put I'll put it all into the show notes, into the description. So yes, please go find Mr. Ray Hurst, Papa Ray Hurst, out there. So yes, please, my friends, connect with him. My life warriors, connect with him. Hey, Ray, I have to say, you, sir, have been fantastic. You, sir, have been wonderful. You, sir, have a vision, a purpose, and inspiration for us all. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It was an honor to be here to share with you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you giving me this platform to touch the world and change the lives one person at a time.
See, that's what we do. We connect one person at a time. And yes, that's the way we are. And let me say thank you to you, my friends, my life warriors out there, for sticking with us up until this point. Please stay safe, stay well, be awesome, be excellent, be fantastic. Be all the positive bees you can be in this world, and then some. Have a great day, guys. See you later. Oh, yeah. Peace. And we are